You know, it's one of the big debates to come out of World Youth Day. It's the question of sex before marriage. Now, some say the waiting game can provide fulfilment in our other relationships while we wait to walk down the aisle. Now, others say this teaching is out of date and it's dangerous.
We thought we'd check in with some of the young Catholics in the plaza to hear their thoughts on sex before marriage.
Nah, I've got a pretty strong Catholic upbringing, so I'd have to say nah, I wouldn't agree with it.
We believe in no sex before marriage, and we waited 2 years, and now we're married.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of people have a debate about whether it's right or wrong, but I think as long as you know that the person is right, it doesn't really matter. And I think you don't want to just do it with anyone, so I think maybe if they've been together for a while and you know that it's right for you.
The reason you should wait to have sex during the wedding is because you're going to receive a lot of grace. You know, church wants the best for us, and that's what it preaches, and we believe that's the best for us.
You should get married first instead of doing it before you get married, as it's a Catholic belief. I don't know, that's just what I believe.
Yeah, us being Catholics, you know, that's what we believe.
I'm against that because my opinion is that true love can wait, and so if it's true love, they can wait.
We say wait!
They're always singing, those pilgrims.
They sure
all do everything
are,
together.
even when they're talking about not having sex.
That's right. There are others out there that don't share the same point of view. So we thought we'd open this one up to debate here on The Morning Show.
We're joined in the studio by American author and chastity supporter Dawn Eden, and in Melbourne, sexual health advocate and general practitioner Dr. Sally Coburn. Good morning to you both. Let's start with you, Dawn. Now, you've just released a book called The Thrill of the Chaste, but you weren't always talking about the virtues of chastity. In fact, you were a rock journalist and you decided then at the age of 31 to start talking about the virtues. Why?
That's right. I had a conversion to Christianity and eventually entered the church. And I realized at that point that all the sex that I'd ever had, which was in hope of marriage, far from leading me to marriage, had actually left me further away from even being able to develop the kind of real intimacy that would lead to marriage. You know, most of marriage is not having sex. So really the best way to prepare for marriage is to see how you get on with someone when you're not having sex. By having sex, you are skipping steps to intimacy and you're failing to build a real foundation to a marriage that lasts.
Can I ask, are you planning on having sex in the future?
Oh, definitely, if it's God's will that I get married. But even if it's not God's will, I'm happier now than I was when I was living the life. Because before I lived with blinders on, like those Sex and the City characters, just always on the prowl. Now I have hope. I'm able to love fully in the way that's appropriate to each relationship with my friends and family.
All right, let's bring Sally in here. Sal, how easy is it for our brains and our beliefs to control our natural urges, particularly, you know, going through puberty and all those anxious years?
Well, I think there's been no proof that abstinence teaching works as a contraceptive or safe sex message in young people. But I suppose if you are otherwise not going to use contraception or condoms, abstinence is the best way, I suppose, to avoid getting pregnant or getting STIs. But it isn't a very good method to teach.
Now, Dawn, what do you take from that? Some people believe it's actually dangerous to teach abstinence, and they think that there's no way that is possible.
There was a lovely woman who was profiled in The Australian a couple of days ago, 20-year-old Ruth Russell, and she said that in school she was just shown condoms and said and told, you're going to have sex, so use this. Abstinence wasn't even offered as an option. If we're truly going to be pro-choice, we should trust that young people are strong enough that they can use self-control. You know, Freud said that self-control is the basis of a healthy civilization. What happens when you don't teach self-control? Civilization breaks down. The Pope spoke today of hope.
Okay.
Dawn, I don't think it's fair to...
So religion meets medicine, Sal, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just was going to say, I don't think it's fair to say that people having safe sex is losing self-control. I think that we need to teach both. I don't see any problem with what you're saying in teaching people that abstinence is an option, and I think for the personal choice it's fabulous. But it isn't going to work for everybody, and we need to actually teach both.
We should teach that abstinence is the only 100% certain way of avoiding disease, avoiding unwanted pregnancy, and avoiding the real personal tragedy and depression that follows abortion.
Earlier we had some young people here that are are working on a website, and they have been talking to people from all denominations about World Youth Day, and one of them was a pilgrim who's come here from Africa, and he was, even though he's a Catholic, he was talking about the fact that not distributing condoms is actually a death certificate for a lot of the people.
But that's not true. The only program against AIDS that's been proven to work is the one in Uganda, which is the ABC program. Abstinence, be faithful, and if you don't do A and B, C, use condoms. But it's abstinence first, and that's the only one that's been proven to work.
Sally?
But that still allows for condoms, and I think the problem that the young man was saying, that the Catholic Church actually preaches against condom use as well.
But people who aren't going to follow the Catholic Church's teachings on sexuality aren't going to bother with not using condoms. I mean, it just doesn't make sense logically.
All right. Well, it's easy to see why it's such a big debate. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me on.
The Thrill of the Chaste
Thank
is
you.
the book. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
All right.
It's a contentious issue, isn't
Indeed.
it? And
Thanks
it's
for
certainly
coming
come
in.
up at the moment for World Youth Day.